Welcome back. You're thinking, I thought we were learning about Lightroom. Why are we looking at these three colored circles? Well, that is because we're going to talk about red, green, and blue primary colors and how you can adjust them to do some color grading using the tone curves. So if you remember way back in elementary school, you might have learned about the primary colors. They're the colors that Superman wears: red, yellow, and blue. But those are the primary colors for when mixing paint. And as you mix red, yellow, and blue paint together, you get other colors. On a computer screen or on a device or with a photograph, it is a mixture of red, green, and blue light for your primary color. So every other color is some combination of red, green, and blue light. As you can see here, you will have a red channel. All right. Opposite of the red channel, cyan, or kind of this light blue. Opposite of the blue channel, yellow. And opposite of the green channel, this kind of pinkish purple color, is magenta. So red, opposite of the tone curve, cyan. Blue, opposite of the tone curve, yellow. Green, opposite of the tone curve, magenta. All right. I'm going to switch over to Adobe Lightroom. I'm going to open up the photo we were developing earlier, D for develop. I'm going to come into my tone curve, and we've already adjusted our RGB curve to give us an S curve, and that's all of our colors together, the RGB channel. Now I can come to the red channel, and it has its own tone curve. And I typically like to hold Option, and at those intersecting points, add my anchor so I don't mess anything up. And then from here, this is where you'll find out if you progress in Lightroom and you're investigating on your own on the internet. You will see there are tons of presets that you can download that are going to give you a certain kind of look, all right, with a little bit or a little amount of effort. Most of the magic that happens in those presets happen in the red, green, and blue channel of the tone curve. Not all of it, but most of it, okay? So here we have our highlights, all right? We're in the red channel. Our shadows, right? I can bump this up, and you can see I'm adding red to my shadow. Now, this is way more sensitive than the RGB curve. Typically, when I'm in here, I'm holding Option to be more subtle, but you don't have to be, all right? Just know that this is way more subtle, and I can add red to my shadows. But we learned that the opposite of red, if we come down, cyan, all right? So I get that kind of blue look. So I can come in and I can add some blue in my shadows, and then I can add some red in my highlights like that. If I wanted to, I'm not saying that's good color grading, but that is something that you can do to adjust. Now, obviously, that's messing up our skin tone, right? So it's not something to do. I'm going to double click that back. All right. Double click that one off, and I'm back to normal. Now if I come into green, and I come in, and I'm going to always like to start this way. I can remove them later if I want. I can add some green in my shadows. All right. And I might do that a little bit. Opposite of green, right? Magenta. Don't want magenta in this particular one, but I can add maybe a little bit of that. And then I'm going to switch over from green to blue. I'm on my blue channel. I am Option clicking at those intersecting points. I can add some blue in the highlights. Opposite of blue, yellow, right? I'm going to get rid of that. Whoops. Option click. I'm going to add some yellow in my highlights a little bit. So I'm going to go down, right? Up is blue. Down a little bit is yellow in the highlights. If I turn the tone curve off, you'll see where I'm at. Turn it back on. Now I just did very subtle, all right? Let me actually take these off, take that off. I'm gonna go back into my green, reset, and I think red was there. Okay, so I'm gonna come down to blue. Now we can also do this. We'll look at split toning in a second, or in another tutorial, but we can also in here on the blue channel specifically, there's something called the cinematic look. All right, cinematic look, blue and yellow, teal and gold, blue and yellow, teal and gold. Same kind of thing, variations on blue and yellow is teal and gold. So this is that kind of cinematic look. Very, very popular at the moment, and it is popular in blockbuster films, to where you might come into your shadows, add some blue, come into your highlights. Yellow is opposite of the wheel, so you typically like to add these contrasting colors, some blues in the shadows, some yellows in the highlights, and it will give this kind of cinematic look, right? So if I turn that off, blue's going away, yellow's going away. But again, that is something that is very popular right now, kind of an S-curve in the blue channel to get that cinematic look. Again, before, after. I'm not saying I want the blue and gold. I just wanted to show you how you can do this color grading. Another popular style before we end, those of you that may be fans of Riverdale, cyan and magenta, right? So think about how if you wanted to get that kind of look, cyan and magenta, how could you do that with one of the color channels in the tone curve? This is advanced stuff. If you're a beginner and you're struggling with this, that's fine. You don't have to go in the red, green, and blue channel. This is for you that really want to take your color grading to the next level. Experiment, try it out. The real magic can happen here, but it can be very tricky.